Hey duelists, Ojama Black here, and now for another installment of Casual Corner. In today's episode, we'll be discussing one of my personal favorite decks, Gravekeepers. Let's get started. Welcome back to another entry to our Casual Corner. For those that are new to the show, Casual Corner is for players aiming to create a budget deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Realistically, any archetype or deck can be considered for Casual Corner. However, they must follow two specific rules. The first being, the main and extra deck must be below $120. Second, each card in the main deck and the extra deck has to be less than $15 each. So cards like Deep Barrier, Solemn Strike, Regeki cannot be used. Now let's get started in the deck itself. Gravekeepers is personally my favorite deck, because I love the nostalgia of it. I love how a lot of the artwork looks like Merrick, looks like a lot of the Ishtar family in general, as well as its play style. It's very much a stun deck and very much a control deck, because you use cards like Necro Valley to slow down your opponent's graveyard effects, and use your monster effects to really just spam the field with your own monsters, and use your own monster effects of Necro Valley so you can use those effects to your advantage. Like Assailant's effect to switch your opponent's monsters to attack to defense, or vice versa, or Descendant's effect to tribute to destroy monsters in the field. So without any further ado, let's get started. First of the monsters, and arguably one of the most important monsters, is Gravekeeper's Spy. Gravekeeper's Spy, when he's flipped face up or face up in the attack or defense position, he can special summon any Gravekeeper's monster with 1500 attack or less to the field. So this is your main special summon engine of the deck. So you can summon almost any Gravekeeper's monster, which is just really helpful. Next, I play 3 Gravekeeper's Recruiter. Recruiter is your main search card in the deck, because when he's destroyed or tributed and sent to graveyard, he can add any Gravekeeper's monster with 1500 defense or less from your deck to your hand. So this really helps you really thin out your deck, as well as adding cards you really might need later on. Next is Gravekeeper's Commandant. Commandant is your main search card for Necro Valley, because you can discard him to add a Necro Valley from your deck to your hand. And since he's a monster and you already Necro Valley in the field, you can just normal summon him, and he's a pretty big beater, because you'd have 2100 attack on the field with Necro Valley's boost. Next, I play 2 Descendants. Descendant is your main destruction card in the deck, so you can tribute any Gravekeeper's monster to destroy one card in the field. So one of the main combos you'd usually use in this deck is you would tribute a Recruiter to destroy a card in the field, then search. Next are my one-of Gravekeeper's monsters. I play 1 Heretic. Heretic, when Necro Valley's on the field, he is absolutely immune to any effect, which he only has 1800 attack, which does seem pretty weak. But let's say your opponent has to use your extra deck. This can really slow down your opponent, because it'd be really hard to get rid of. And doesn't he look familiar? He looks a lot like Merrick, doesn't he? Next, I play my only tribute summon monster I usually tribute for, is Gravekeeper's Chief. When he is tribute summoned, you can special summon any Gravekeeper's monster from your graveyard to the field. And on top of that, when he is summoned on the field, your graveyard is now unaffected by Necro Valley, which could really help you later in the game. Then I play 1 Gravekeeper's Assailant. Assailant, when Necro Valley is on the field, she can target any of your opponent's monsters and switch it to attack or defense position during battle phase. So you can get rid of those really troublesome monsters you have a hard time getting over. My last monster, and actually arguably one of the most important monsters, is Gravekeeper's Shaman. She's level 6, so she might be a little bit difficult to get out. but thanks to her low attack and low defense, she's able to be searched and or special summoned by Spy and Recruiter. So the main play you'd usually do is flip your Spy, or have your Spy attacked, and flip face up, and then you special summon Shaman from your deck. So you have Necro Valley already on the field. This would protect your Necro Valley, and your opponent cannot activate any field spells, thanks to her effect. Now on top of that, if you have any Gravekeeper's monsters in your graveyard, she gains 200 defense for each of them. So let's say you have Necro Valley and let's say 5 Gravekeeper's monsters in your graveyard. That is a whopping 1500 defense boost. That might be really hard to get rid of. That is it for my monsters. Next are the spells. This is the most important card of the deck. It is Necro Valley. Necro Valley is the main stun card in this deck and main lockdown card of this deck. It really slows down your opponent's graveyard plays, and you're not able to target their graveyard, which certain decks crucially rely on the graveyard to either special summon monsters from the graveyard or use other effects to target the graveyard. So with this, it really slows them down, as well as boosting your own monster's attack and defense by 500. So your opponent have to deal with some really beefy monsters to get rid of. Next I play 3 Pot of Duality. Pot of Duality does say you cannot special summon the turn that you use this card. That might hurt you at first, but if you actually look at Gravekeepers, you don't really special summon that often besides using Spy or Chief. And usually use Spy's effects during your opponent's turn anyway, so you can just use time this properly. And that one added draw might really help you in the long run. Next I play 2 Gravekeeper's Style. This card targets 2 Gravekeeper's monsters in your graveyard and add those targets to your hand, and this is unaffected by Necro Valley. So let's say it's a stall game, or let's say your game's lasting a lot longer than usual, and you're running out of resources, and if you top deck this, or if you already have this in your hand, this can really save you a game, because you can target your Recruiter, target your Assailant. It can really help you get your opponent for game. Next, I play 2 Aura Darkness. Since every single one of your monsters in this deck, besides Commandant, are dark monsters, this just helps you draw for most of the cards you need or might need at a time. However, I personally do not want to play more than 2 because since a lot of your Gravekeeper's monsters are pretty crucial and some of them are one-ofs, I would not want to banish some of those targets personally. And I play 1 Upstart for consistency, and plus since you're playing Upstart, you're technically playing a 39 card deck. And for the last spell, Royal Tribute. This card I would play at 3 if it was allowed, but unfortunately it is at 1 in forbidden list right now. I can only imagine why, since if you have Necro Valley on the field and you activate this, both you and your opponent have to reveal their hand and send any monsters in their hands to the graveyard. I can only imagine why this is on the ban list. But this really helps Gravekeepers as well, because you can just set all your spells and traps and set your 1 Spy in your hand and activate this so that you have no cards in hand, and since you get more knowledge of what your opponent's playing and be able to actually play more decisively. That is it for the spells. Next are the traps. I play 3 Imperial Tomb of Necro Valley. This is basically your Solemn Judgment of the deck. Because let's say you have a Necro Valley and you have a face-up Gravekeeper's monster on the field. When a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, you can just activate this and negate the activation, which can be really helpful. It is once per turn, so I'd recommend using this timely, and only use it when it's really necessary. Up next, I play 2 Storm Mirror Force. I play 2 Stormy Mirror Force over other Mirror Force cards like Quaking Mirror Force and Mirror Force in general, because I think it's better for those cards to go back to your opponent's hand every extra deck, more so than destroying them or setting them face down. Because setting them face down might have a difficult time for you and your Gravekeeper's monsters to attack over them, as well as Mirror Force, because some of your opponent's monsters might have effects activating Grave that are their own effects, so Necrovat wouldn't be able to negate them. So personally, would just rather want this, so that all their monsters are back in their hand, so you guys will start all over. Here's another stall card on top of Necro Valley. Is 1 lose 1 turn. I play 2 in the deck. This card is just really slows down your opponent, because if you have this and Necro Valley in the field, if it's a very crucial graveyard focused deck, for every time your opponent spell summons a monster, that spell summoned monster that turn has their effects negated, and they're switched to defense position that turn. So it can really buy you that 1 turn you might need. Next are the 1-ofs. 1 Vanity's Emptiness, just to slow down your opponent. And since you don't spell summon that often, this can really help you. 1 Starlight Road, because destruction is your main enemy in this deck. So if you can prevent destruction and also summon a Stardust Dragon, that's added destruction protection right there. So it will really help you from your getting your Necro Valley destroyed or any of your monsters destroyed as well. 1 Solemn Warning, just for that monster negation, because sometimes you might have a troublesome monster that you might want to get rid of before it's summoned. 1 Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare, because again, spell summon monsters might be an issue for you, so I play 1 of these because if they try to Castell your Necro Valley or Castell your Shaman, you can just activate this and just negate and destroy it. And I play 1 Bottomless, just again for that 1 troublesome monster you might have difficulty getting over. My last trap, and the last card of the main deck, is Rite of Spirit. This is an unfamiliar card for most people, but it's basically a Call of the Haunted for Gravekeepers, because when you activate this, you can target a Gravekeeper's monster in your graveyard and special summon that. Also, on top of that, this is unaffected by Necro Valley. So if you have Necro Valley in the field, you can activate this, special summon your Shaman or summon your Spy, and you're good to go. That is it for the main deck. Now let's go for the extra deck. The extra deck is full of generic rank 4s, because the main deck for Gravekeepers can usually rely on its own with its spells and traps and monsters, but this is just a backup just in case you need some added help. First, I play 1 Stardust Dragon for that 1 Starlight Road in the deck for that added protection. 1 number 47 Nightmare Shark. Since you only play 3 level 3s in the deck, it's kind of difficult to make, but an added attack your opponent directly for game might actually help you. For 1 Staple Castell, just for that 1 removal. 1 Cal Gorgon, just for redirecting effects. 1 number 82 Heartland Draco. Again, similar to Nightmare Shark, since you do play more level 4s, you can just have this and Necro Valley on the field and just attack your opponent directly. 1 number 66 Master Key Beetle. This is one of the few I actually do make in the deck quite frequently, because if you have Necro Valley on the field, Shaman, and Spy, and let's say you summon a Descendant that turn, you can overlay and protect your Shaman, and then in turn you protect your Shaman and your Necro Valley at the same time. So you have to get rid of this as well as your Shaman and your Necro Valley. 1 Abyss Dweller, because sometimes you might not have your Necro Valley in that rare instance, and your opponent might be playing a deck that really relies on your graveyard. So this might help you against that matchup. 1 Trap Tricks Rafflesia. You do play 2 trap hole targets in your deck, so if you want to be a little bit defensively, you can just overlay for this and just play a little bit defensively. 1 Downer Magician, because you do play spellcasters, so you can just overlay and just make this, as well as overlay it with your Nightmare Shark. And that piercing damage does kind of help you sometimes. 1 Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon, just for an added attack boost. 1 Gagaga Cowboy, just for that burn damage for game. 1 number 101 Silent Honor Arc. Then my last monster, Perform Mage Trapeze Magician. Since your monsters are spell monsters, spellcaster type monsters, you can detach and target himself or another spellcaster, and you attack twice, which actually might be useful, because that 1 added attack might help you push for game. That is it for my main deck and my extra deck. The total cost for the main deck and the extra deck is $105. The main reason why this deck is almost $120 is the spell and trap lineup. Because you play cards such as Allure of Darkness, and you play cards like Stormy Mirror Force that really add up in price. Even though staples like Vanity's Emptiness and Solemn Warning aren't cheap. Because Stormy Mirror Force, thanks to the meta currently in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, is around $8 for the gold rare. And you also have cards like Allure of Darkness, which is around $4 as well. And then also cards such as Vanity's Emptiness and Solemn Warning add up as well, because Vanity's Emptiness for a super rare is $3 for the lowest rarity, and Solemn Warning, which is for the lowest rarity as well, will be around $3 as well. But the good thing is, the main monster count, and the main monsters in general, are extremely cheap and only costed $21.50. So the monsters in this deck of the lowest rarity are extremely inexpensive, and the only somewhat expensive monster is Recruiter, which is $4, but everything else is around 25 cents to 10 cents if you get the lowest rarity. In the extra deck, again, like I was saying earlier, it's not mandatory for a lot of these because, like I was saying, Gravekeepers don't really rely on the extra deck too often unless it's in a really tight situation. But the extra deck, again, was around $25. That was mostly for cards like such as Heartland Draco and things like that. But again, you can make it your own personal preference. And that is it for Casual Corner for today. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And this is Ojama Black signing out.